Hello, my name is host Eric. I'm the host talking with famous people, and in the background you may hear the workings of my washing machine. That's because Delilah is currently doing laundry. I want to talk in this video about a topic that I was thinking about as a preparation for this session, namely the state of political discourse in the status quo. So what I mean by that is you hear a lot of people lamenting the state of politics in America, the state of political level of conversation in America, and stuff like that. But I think that the people who are usually lamenting it are engaged in a lesser evil, but nevertheless, in my mind, another bad kind of political discourse. So, if we're going to talk about the quality of the discourse, then we need to distinguish between different kinds. And that's not too challenging to do. There are basically a few basic categories. On the one hand, there's what you'd call politician speak. It's the least involved political discourse of all. It's just advocacy. When you hear politicians speaking about anything, they're usually talking about an advocacy of some sort, but it's not even usually about a policy. It's almost always about another person or about themselves. So that's weird. And there's no testing of ideas in contemporary mainstream politics, in the sense that we're having these political conventions. There's no debating of any ideas going on. There's just speeches. Now, I'm a debate coach and not a speech coach for a reason. Because pretty words don't mean shit until they've been tested by fire. So there's a politician level of advocacy, which is not even advocacy of any sort. It is essentially nothing more than glossy brochures trying to get you to like a name, build name recognition, stuff like that. So on the next level of discourse, you've got your partisan ideologues. Partisan ideologues come in all different flavors. They come libertarian, they come Democrat, they come Republican. Libertarian ideologues don't really qualify, and it's usually depending, because what I mean by an ideologue is that they are entering into the political discussion on a given matter through the frame of find my best arguments. And my position on the frame of find my best arguments, which is basically everybody's default understanding of, if they're going to talk about something that might be disputed, they're going to talk about something slightly controversial like politics or something, that their basic approach is find my best arguments. But the problem is, that's why the level of political discourse is so bad, because each side is trying to find the best arguments rather than trying to find the best arguments. So they're coming in already positioned as contrary to something, right? And not to something, because of course to say you're contrary to something means you have to have a position that you're countering. But they don't have a position, so instead they counter partisanship. You cannot sit there. You may not. If you sit there, I will run you over with a chair. So you come up here if you want. Come here. Yeah, so, okay. So the partisan crowd, they know that certain policies they don't like, maybe. They think certain things are a bad idea. And very quickly, they start to compile those bad ideas into a pile and say, well, this is the Democrats' pile, this is the Republicans' pile, or this is the Libertarians' pile, or this is the white males' pile, or whatever. But successfully determining which team you're on, unfortunately, does not do a very good job of getting you to have the right political opinions, which is, your party's not going to choose all of your politics for you, probably. You may tend to default towards a given liberal framework or a given conservative framework or something like that, but the political party, you're going to disagree necessarily with them on something. So it's odd that even for like hardcore Democrats and Republicans, no Democrat or Republican thinks that the Democratic Party, the Republican Party is the bee's knees. They just think that the other guys are awful. So it's odd that we have such an ascription to something that everyone agrees isn't good, and everyone agrees half of which is awful, and yet we tend to just continue to fixate on these party mechanisms that are designed to minimize effective discourse rather than maximize it, which is really strange. Alright, so the paradox in the Find My Best Arguments paradox is that in the process of finding your best arguments, you seek the same sources, and you seek the same team, right? You're going in with your conclusions predetermined, and you're finding the best arguments in favor of those. The paradoxical part is that you get worse and worse and worse at argumentation because you never actually encounter. That's a good question, Q. I will answer it in a second. You never actually encounter the experiences you need to for your arguments to grow healthy and sound. You know, arguments are like children. Arguing styles, possessions. You possess arguments in the sense that they're things you can utilize in certain circumstances to accomplish certain goals. But like children, your arguments, they have to grow in a healthy environment. They have to have room to run and play. If you keep them locked up all the time, they get argument abuse. They're subject to argument abuse, and then they come out all weird. So that's my thoughts on that. And I'm going to end this video with the following discourse issue. Actually, I'm not quite ending it, but the other kind of discourse, I forgot, I got sidetracked. You know, I did my thing. But the other kind of discourse that has to be talked about is a kind of discourse that is done by pundits on the radio, like Rush Limbaugh or like this Stefan Molyneux fellow that everybody in the comments is saying, like, yeah, that guy's a douchebag, yada, yada, yada. Lacey, you cannot just come right fucking back here. Here, sweetie. Sit over here, on this. You can't sit behind my chair or I will run you over. Okay, so everyone's like, oh, this guy's a douchebag, yada, yada, yada. Well, it sounded like he had some pretty strong arguments he was making, if he would be interested in making them. But the problem is he's pandering. He's either pandering, he doesn't care, or he's a moron. I don't think he's a moron. I think he's pandering. He's saying, well, look, the audience wants me to talk some shit about the progressives. That's what gets me the views, so I'm going to keep talking shit about progressives. Well, I mean, you're undermining the well-being of civilization when you do that shit. If he knows that's all bullshit and he's saying it anyway, shame on him. Shame on him. And, you know, I'd be happy to explain to him why shame on him. And if he doesn't know, if he actually thinks that these words he's saying about progressives are problem with progressives is they think their feelings exchange for facts. They don't think that. Fucking moron. Conservatives don't think whatever you think they think either. If somebody's talking, I'm having a problem with my headphones. So if you can keep talking, I can figure out. I gotta like move it to a certain millimeter.
Now say you should make a video on this.
Which one?
About what you just said.
Okay, well, thanks for watching Second Things, people.